When your heart feels peace, not pressure, clarity, not confusion, that's not emotion, it's alignment. God doesn't just join two people, He joins purposes. If you feel this deep calm, this unshakable knowing, it's Him. Trust it. Don't chase it. Let God lead. What He starts, He will sustain always. When two people meet and there's a connection that goes beyond the surface, beyond looks, beyond shared interests, beyond timing, it's not just coincidence, it's divine alignment. There are moments in life when we encounter someone and everything inside us knows this is different. It's not loud, not forced, not overly dramatic, but it's real, it's steady, it's significant. And that kind of connection doesn't come from scrolling through life or wandering aimlessly through relationships. It comes from something higher. God doesn't deal in coincidences. He orchestrates, He aligns. He writes stories with intentionality, not randomness. The people you meet, the timing of their arrival, the way your hearts connect, it's all part of a greater design. When you step back and really look at the circumstances that led to the two of you crossing paths, it becomes harder to believe it was random. The prayers you didn't say out loud, the healing you didn't know you needed, the parts of you that felt unfinished, somehow this person speaks to all of it. And not because they're perfect, but because they're placed. There's a sacredness in that kind of connection. It's not rushed. It doesn't ask you to perform. It doesn't thrive on highs and collapse on lows. It holds. It grows. It feels like home in a world that constantly pushes you to run. And more than anything, it aligns with something deep inside of you, your calling, your values, your spiritual rhythm. When God joins two people together, it's not just emotional chemistry or physical attraction, it's spiritual clarity. You'll notice that your conversations go deeper. That time together feels purposeful, not just pleasant. That you challenge each other in love, not just comfort. And that being around this person doesn't pull you away from who you are. It brings you back to who you were always meant to be. That's alignment. That's what happens when God joins two people together, not just for romance, but for mission. People might not see it, friends might question it, the world might misunderstand it, but divine alignment isn't always loud enough for others to recognize. It's often quiet, internal, sacred. It doesn't need to make sense to everyone. It only needs to be true in your spirit. And if you're honest, you know the difference between something you're forcing to work and something that just fits because God put it together. So when you feel that, when your heart is at peace, when your spirit is still, when you sense a deeper purpose in the presence of someone, don't ignore it. That's not coincidence. That's not wishful thinking. That's the hand of God bringing two journeys into alignment. You didn't find them by accident. You were guided. And in that guidance, there's something holy happening, something intentional, something eternal. There are moments in life when everything around you is uncertain, when circumstances don't add up, when people question your decisions, when logic can't explain your next step, and yet deep inside you feel peace. Not because you have all the answers, not because everything is perfect, but because something greater than you is holding it all together. That's the kind of peace only God can give. It doesn't always align with human understanding. It doesn't have to, because it comes from a place beyond reason. It comes from trust. When you're walking into a relationship and your mind should be overthinking, analyzing, and second-guessing, but your spirit is calm, pay attention. That stillness is not from you. That kind of peace is not manufactured, it's given. It's a sign, a whisper from God saying, you can rest here. Peace that surpasses understanding is one of the clearest ways God speaks. It doesn't mean there's no fear or unknowns ahead, but it means the fear doesn't rule you. The unknown doesn't shake you, because God is in it. Sometimes we wait for signs in the sky, confirmations from people, or perfect circumstances, but God often confirms through peace. When your heart is steady in someone's presence, when their voice calms the noise in your mind, when prayer about them doesn't stir anxiety but invites reassurance, that is not accidental. That's alignment with God's will. Not everything He leads you into will be easy, but it will be marked by peace. A peace that doesn't need explanation to be real. It simply is. This peace isn't passive, it's active. It anchors you when emotions try to lead you astray. It keeps you grounded when impatience wants to rush the process. It allows you to wait without worry and love without fear, because deep inside, you know who's guiding you. And when God brings someone into your life, He doesn't just give you feelings, He gives you peace. That quiet yes in your heart, even when your mind is still figuring it out. You might not be able to explain it to your friends. You might not have a roadmap or a 5-year plan, but you have peace. And peace is enough. Peace is powerful. Peace is confirmation. When everything else is loud, but your soul is silent in their presence, that's not just comfort, it's spiritual clarity. It's God saying, this is safe, this is good, I'm in this. Relationships built on peace last, because peace isn't about avoiding storms, it's about having a calm within them. When you found someone who doesn't remove the chaos of life but helps you walk through it with a quiet heart, that's worth paying attention to. It's easy to chase chemistry, it's easy to cling to attraction, but when you find peace, real peace in someone, hold on to that. It's not ordinary, it's not common, and it's never random. That's the peace that surpasses all understanding. And it's the kind that only God can give when He's bringing two hearts together. Many people enter relationships searching for perfection. They want flawless communication, zero conflict, constant romance, and someone who checks every box. But God doesn't join two people based on how perfect they are for each other. He joins them based on how purposeful they will be together. He's not looking to pair people who never struggle. He's looking to align two hearts that will grow, sharpen, and serve in ways that glorify Him. When God is the author of a relationship, He's not building it on fantasy. He's building it on foundation. And foundations are not always pretty. They take work. They involve truth, vulnerability, patience, and forgiveness. God isn't calling you to find someone who never gets it wrong. He's calling you to someone who's willing to build something right. The relationship isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's about learning from them, healing through them, and becoming stronger together because of them. You may not be perfect, they may not be perfect, but if your purpose is aligned, that's where the power is. Purpose gives your relationship direction when emotions fade. Purpose carries you through seasons when things don't feel exciting. Purpose keeps you steady when life feels uncertain. Perfection makes demands. Purpose builds discipline. And God doesn't promise easy, He promises meaningful. That's why He often brings two people together who challenge each other. Not to tear each other down, but to refine each other. Because purpose requires growth. And growth is uncomfortable. But when someone pushes you closer to God, to your calling, to your character, that's the kind of discomfort that transforms. That's when you know God is using your relationship not just to bless you, but to build something eternal through you. Perfection looks good in pictures. Purpose works in silence. Purpose wakes up early to pray. Purpose learns how to communicate instead of control. Purpose forgives even when it hurts. Purpose honors commitment over convenience. God joins people who are willing to commit to that, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Sometimes we think love should always feel light, always feel safe, always feel simple. But real love has weight to it, not burdensome, but sacred. It carries the weight of responsibility, the weight of spiritual accountability, the weight of calling. And when two people carry that together, when they embrace their weaknesses and still choose to build, that's when God is truly glorified. Not in how flawless they are, but in how faithful they become. So if you're looking for a relationship that looks perfect, you may miss the one God is trying to give you, one that's full of purpose, strength, and depth. Don't dismiss someone because they're still growing. Don't disqualify yourself because you're still healing. God doesn't need perfect people. He uses willing people. And when He joins two of them together, it's not to showcase perfection, it's to fulfill purpose. That's where His blessing lives. That's where love becomes more than a feeling. That's where two become one. Not because they're flawless, but because they're faithful. When God is joining two people together, one of the clearest signs is not always how easy things are, but how consistent the confirmation becomes, even through challenging circumstances. It's the kind of confirmation that doesn't come once, but keeps showing up. It's subtle sometimes and other times loud, but it keeps coming back over and over again. Through the highs and the lows, through silence and through chaos, God keeps reminding you, this is still me. I'm still in this. You might try to walk away. Maybe you doubt it. Maybe timing falls apart. Maybe fear gets loud. But even in the distance, God has a way of bringing things full circle. You see them in places you didn't expect. Their name comes up in conversations you weren't trying to have. You pray, thinking you're ready to let go, and instead of release, you get clarity. You get that stillness, that whisper, I'm not done here. When a relationship is truly authored by God, it won't just survive in ideal conditions. It will persist in pressure. It will endure questions. And most importantly, it will be confirmed repeatedly, not just through feelings, but through patterns. God doesn't tease, He teaches. And sometimes the lesson is to pay attention to what He's trying to establish in your life, even when things look uncertain. Because God's hand doesn't stop moving just because your emotions start wavering. Confirmation doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it looks like peace when you pray. Sometimes it's the way your spirit rests when you're near them, even after weeks or months of silence. It could be the timing, how life opens up when you reconnect. It could be how your heart is drawn back to them, not because of familiarity or comfort, but because something deep still resonates. Something you can't force, and something you can't ignore. Even conflict becomes part of the confirmation, not because fighting is good, but because even in disagreement, something holds. You find yourself choosing grace, choosing growth, not because it's easy, but because you see who they are beneath the flaw, and they see you too. You realize you're being shaped for each other and by each other. And the longer you walk it out, the more you notice this isn't random. This isn't just history. This is purpose unfolding through persistence. There may be distance, detours, delays, but if it's God, you'll see His fingerprints all over the journey. The right words at the right time. The doors that close just to lead you back to what matters. The way they still come to mind in prayer, not with pain, but with peace. And when that kind of confirmation keeps showing up, pay attention. God doesn't always give the full picture at once, but He gives enough light for the next step. And if He keeps confirming it, even through broken pieces, it's not over. He's still writing, He's still aligning, and He's still leading you both towards something only He could design. When God is joining two people together, one of the most profound signs isn't found in sparks or emotional highs. It's in clarity. Not the kind that comes from having every answer, but the kind that settles deep in your spirit and removes the need to overthink. It's a quiet knowing, a stillness that rests over your heart and tells you this feels right, even if it's not perfect. That's the kind of clarity God gives, and that kind of clarity doesn't come with pressure or anxiety. It comes with peace. Confusion is loud. It makes you second guess. It brings tension, uncertainty, and inner chaos. You find yourself asking too many questions. Is this real? Do they really care? Am I forcing this? When confusion takes over, it becomes hard to tell the difference between fear and intuition. But when something is from God, it calms that internal noise. It doesn't mean you won't face questions, but the foundation of the relationship brings comfort, not crisis. You don't feel like you're chasing answers. You feel like you're walking in them. Clarity doesn't always come in one moment. Sometimes it's revealed through time, through consistent actions, through the way someone shows up again and again, not just in words, but in presence. It's in the way they listen, the way they speak to your soul, the way they don't make you feel like you have to be someone else to be loved. You're not shrinking in their presence, you're settling, not into complacency, but into trust, into truth. God's clarity often shows up in your ability to be fully you without fear, in how naturally your values align, how conversations go deeper without effort, how your hearts speak the same language even when your personalities are different. You don't feel like you're trying to convince yourself. You're not building hope on potential. You're seeing purpose in the present. That's the kind of clarity that marks something divine. It doesn't mean the relationship is without challenges, but even in the hard moments, clarity doesn't leave. You may not always know what to do next, but you're not questioning whether this person is for you. You're not questioning their character, their heart, their intention. When God is in it, the relationship still feels anchored through miscommunication, through distance, through growing pains. The peace in your heart stays intact. Sometimes we confuse excitement with confirmation. We mistake butterflies for alignment, but excitement can fade and butterflies can disappear when life gets hard. Clarity, however, remains. It shows up in your prayers, in your spirit, in the way God continues to speak through your connection. You realize you're not just compatible, you're called. You're not just in love, you're aligned. That's when you know it's not just emotion pulling you in, it's God leading you forward. So when clarity comes, cherish it, protect it, walk in it, because the peace that follows is not ordinary. It's a sign that what you found is not rooted in confusion or chance, but in divine intention. And where there is clarity, God is often closer than you think. When God is bringing two people together, He's not just concerned with how they feel about each other. He's deeply invested in who they're becoming through one another. A relationship joined by God doesn't just comfort, it transforms. It calls both people higher. It doesn't allow them to stay the same. Instead, it becomes a space where mutual growth and spiritual maturity are not only encouraged, but expected. Love that comes from God is never stagnant. It is alive, refining, and deeply rooted in purpose. When you're in a relationship that God is orchestrating, growth becomes a natural part of the journey. It's not forced or demanded, it's inspired. You begin to notice that your heart is being stretched in the best way. You're learning how to communicate better, to forgive more deeply, to love more selflessly, not because you have to, but because something in the relationship is drawing it out of you. That something is God working through both of you. Spiritual maturity doesn't always look like praying together perfectly or quoting scripture every day. Sometimes it looks like accountability, like gently calling each other out in love, like helping one another face fears instead of avoid them, like sitting in silence when there are no words and letting your presence be a reminder of God's patience. It's in the way you navigate hard conversations with humility. It's in choosing to grow through conflict instead of run from it. Mutual growth also means you're not just focused on what the other person can do for you, but how you're becoming better for them and for God. You're not just building a future together. You're becoming more whole individually so that what you bring to each other is not dependency, but strength. You begin to notice that the relationship isn't just meeting emotional needs, it's shaping spiritual character. That's not a coincidence. That's divine design. You won't always be growing at the same pace. There will be seasons when one is strong while the other is struggling. But when the relationship is from God, there's grace in the imbalance. There's support in the weakness. You don't use one another's growth against each other. You steward it. You celebrate each other's progress without comparison. You become safe places for spiritual vulnerability. What makes these relationships so special is that they don't just focus on happiness, they focus on holiness. You see the hand of God more clearly, not just when things are easy, but when you're stretched and still stay. When your character is tested and still chooses love. When you realize that who you're becoming is more important than how things look on the outside. That's the kind of depth that sustains a relationship long after the initial feelings fade. God-ordained relationships are marked by movement, forward, deeper, upward. And when both people are willing to grow, to heal, to mature, the relationship becomes more than a connection. It becomes a calling. Two people becoming more like Christ together. That's how you know God is in it. Not just by how much you love, but by how much you grow. When God joins two people together, the connection goes far deeper than chemistry or compatibility. It's rooted in alignment. Not just in how you feel, but in what you believe, how you live, and where you're headed. Alignment in values and vision is one of the strongest indicators that a relationship isn't just convenient or emotional, but divine. Because God doesn't just pair two people for companionship, He aligns them for purpose, and purpose demands unity in direction. It's easy to be drawn to someone's personality, but it's alignment that determines longevity. When your values align, there's peace in your decision-making. You don't have to constantly negotiate your convictions. You don't have to sacrifice your faith to maintain connection. You're not torn between who you love and what you believe. Instead, you find someone who walks in the same direction you're called to walk in. You find someone who prays like you do, who forgives like you do, who dreams with eternity in mind like you do. Alignment in values means the foundation is steady. You both care about integrity, humility, stewardship, family, calling, whatever it may be. You find shared ground. And when disagreements come, and they will, those shared values become the anchor. You don't argue to win. You work through things to protect the relationship. That's the power of having aligned priorities. You don't fight each other, you fight for each other. But values are only part of the picture. Vision matters just as much. Two people can love God, be kind, and care deeply, but if they are called to entirely different paths that constantly pull them apart, even a good thing can become a painful thing. Vision is about the future. Where are you going? What has God placed in your heart? And is this relationship helping you move toward that or away from it? When your vision aligns, it doesn't mean you're doing the same exact thing. It means your lives complement each other's purpose. You're not competing. You're not confused. You're in sync. Their victories feel like yours. Their calling feels like an extension of your own. You serve each other's destiny with joy, not jealousy. And you walk together with clarity, not compromise. This kind of alignment is rare because it's not manufactured, it's discovered. It's something you uncover through prayer, conversation, and time. And when you find it, you'll know. Because it won't feel like you're trying to fit your life into someone else's world. It will feel like your life finally has someone to share the journey with. Someone who doesn't just understand your heart, but runs with it, encourages it, protects it, builds with it. That's why God takes alignment seriously. Because He's not just interested in giving you a partner. He's interested in building something eternal through you both. And for that to happen, your values and vision must speak the same language. When they do, love doesn't just survive, it thrives. It becomes something holy, something whole, something God can use. When God is orchestrating a relationship, the confirmation doesn't come through pressure, anxiety, or emotional manipulation. It comes through prayer. True confirmation doesn't demand urgency, it invites peace. It doesn't make you feel like you're on a deadline to decide or perform. It creates space for discernment, space for stillness, space for God to speak. Because when something is from Him, He doesn't rush you with panic, He prepares you with peace. There's a distinct difference between being convinced and being convicted. Pressure tries to convince you. It uses fear of missing out, fear of being alone, fear of losing something good. It creates a sense of restlessness that clouds your ability to hear clearly. But prayer brings conviction, not in the sense of guilt, but in the sense of clarity. It sharpens your spiritual senses. It shows you things that feelings can't. It brings your emotions into alignment with truth. You don't need to be pushed into love when God is guiding it. You don't have to force it, chase it, or constantly question it. When you go to God about someone and His presence surrounds the situation with calm rather than confusion, that's confirmation. And even if you don't have all the answers, you have peace. You have alignment. You have a yes that doesn't come from external validation, but from internal reassurance. Relationships born out of pressure usually carry that same energy into their rhythm. You feel like you're always catching up, always proving, always afraid the other person might walk away if you stop performing. But relationships confirmed in prayer are rooted differently. They're not built on control or emotional highs. They're built on submission to God's timing, God's leading, and God's voice. When you're seeking God sincerely, He will speak, not always in lightning bolts or sudden revelations, but through consistent peace, through scripture that resonates, through godly counsel, through how your spirit rests in their presence. And sometimes He confirms by what He doesn't allow. He shuts doors, He removes distractions, He creates separation, only to bring clarity through it. And when you're listening in prayer, you'll start to notice His fingerprints on every detail. Sometimes God's confirmation will be a quiet, consistent knowing. No drama, no rush, just steady peace that grows stronger over time. You won't feel like you're being pulled into something against your will. You'll feel led into something with divine intention. And even when the relationship faces tension or waiting, the confirmation doesn't disappear. It deepens Because God doesn't base his promises on perfect conditions, he bases them on his perfect plan. So if you're trying to discern whether a relationship is truly from God, don't let pressure make the decision for you. Go to God. Ask him without fear. He's not trying to hide his will. He's trying to align your heart with it. And when it's truly from him, he won't just confirm it once. He'll confirm it in ways you didn't even know to ask for. Not with pressure, but with peace. Not with fear, but with faith. When two hearts are joined by God, it's never by chance or fleeting emotion. It's by divine alignment, rooted in peace, purpose, and mutual growth. True connection transcends perfection and confusion, confirmed not by pressure, but by prayer, grounded in shared values and vision, and strengthened through persistent confirmation in every circumstance. This kind of relationship isn't just about finding someone to love. It's about becoming who God created you to be together, walking forward with clarity, faith, and a peace that surpasses all understanding. When you feel this deep in your heart, know that God is joining you two together, weaving your lives into a purpose greater than either of you could imagine alone.